In theory, some mic's working. In theory, we are live now, hopefully without technical glitches, audio cutting out, or any of the frustrating things that can make live streams put a lot of stress on me. But I had a Friday afternoon where I couldn't get a video for today shot and edited, so I decided to go ahead and do a quick, I don't know how long it'll be, but a live stream that's a little bit impromptu, take as many questions as I can, do my best. I don't have my wife to help me with the chat board, so I'll be doing what I can to try and read what you're saying as quick as I can to find the best questions and have some nice discussion about whatever everybody wants to talk about. That is what we will talk about. We've got tons and tons of people already showing up saying hello. Nikki Holdmeyer, Earth Dragon, Jonathan Vlogs, Shadow Nova Productions, Miles Morales. Wow, Miles Morales is here. Hello to everybody. It's too many people. I can't actually say hello to everybody. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll just say this right up front. With the questions you ask, I'm going to prioritize questions I haven't already made a video about. So if you say, do you prefer Endgame or Infinity War? I've made about 50,000 videos about that. I've discussed that answer. So things like that, I'm probably not going to answer. So if I don't answer your questions, it's not always because it's a bad question. Sometimes it's such a good question that I already made a video about it. So think about all of that. And maybe if you really want an answer, YouTube search to see if I've made a video about it before. With all of that said, let's just dive into all of this and see what we can come up with. Here's one that's relevant for today. Houston Rockets 2019 champs. Thoughts on the Suicide Squad cast. If you don't know what he's talking about, James Gunn tweeted out a picture. This massive, it's like 20 people long. It's at least 60, but I think it's 20 people. The cast of The Suicide Squad. His Suicide Squad movie that he's doing before he does Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Inside of it, you had Jai Courtney, Captain Boomerang returning. You had Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn returning. You had Viola Davis returning as the bad same lady. I'm blanking on her name at this particular moment. And then so many other names. Taika Waititi's in there. Nathan Fillion's in there. What do I think about it? And then Idris Elba's in there. There had been rumors that he was replacing Will Smith, and then they're not doing that. So big cast, a bunch of names a bunch of like, oh wow, that's cool that they're in there. We kind of knew a lot of this information already because it's, kind of a sequel follow-up, kind of they're trying to do their own little pocket reboot that it is a continuation, but it's a distance continuation. Like, this is a bad example, but like what they did with that Nicolas Cage second Ghost Rider movie, that it's Nicolas Cage once again. We're ignoring the previous one, but we're kind of acting as if that already happened. So I don't have strong thoughts on it, but there's some interesting things in there. Vitality Specialist, are you a MacGyver fan? I haven't really watched a lot of that. I'm gonna remove some people who are already causing trouble. Sean Brubble says, Friday the 13th review. I don't have a Friday the 13th review, but I do have a ranking of all of the movies. I actually posted it in my community tab. You can check that out when you have the time. My thoughts on all of the movies. JMO Gaming, do you like The Wire? I've actually only seen one episode of The Wire ever. I've seen the first episode. It didn't hook me in enough that I kept watching. It wasn't I intended to stop watching or anything like that. It's like I gave it a quick try, and it just didn't immediately pull me in for me to keep watching. Frank Ancian, what's your favorite scary movie? I am always partial to the Scream movies. Those are the slasher films from my high school years. So the first one came out when I was a freshman in high school. Third one came out when I was a senior, or maybe right after I graduated high school. Those were the three movies came out right around my high school era. So those were my formative years of learning to love movies. So I've always been very partial to the Scream movies, in particular, the first two inside of it. Aiden Teeter, what do you think of John Wick 4? If you watch my John Wick 3 review, my thoughts are essentially in there that, and some of my other rankings where I've discussed John Wick 3, the place they ended the film, I think that they were stretching out their story to set up a sequel. John Wick Chapter 3 isn't as satisfying as it should be, because there's certain things that you wanted to see happen, certain things you wanted resolved, that basically at the end of the movie, they just kind of punted, they kicked it down the field or whatever. I don't know what a proper analogy, sports analogy would be at that moment. And so instead of like getting the satisfaction of like, this was resolved, they went, we'll give you this other thing and we'll give you a showdown. We'll take out this henchman. But what you really want, come back in a couple years and maybe you'll get that. I wasn't crazy about that. The movie set up certain things you wanted to see happen inside of it, and then they didn't deliver on it. And that's not a good way to do a film. Daniel B says, with a super chat, thank you so much. What is your favorite horror villain? So, somewhat to what I just said before about the Scream films, I inherently like the nature of Ghostface always being a whodunit of who it is. I just thought they came up with a clever concept inside of it. If you have the slasher film, you have the same iconology, you have the same visuals of Ghostface, but who is it? I thought that was a clever way to do that. If you were to get more specific, I had to pick one. Jason Voorhees, those were also the ones that I grew up. I grew up on TBS, on TNT. They would have the Friday the 13th movies frequently. And so I watched most of those ones and all out of order. I didn't know which one was which or how the mythology played out or anything. But Jason Voorhees was the one. And just kind of his sheer brutality. Just there's something about hockey mask look or even just the grotesque ghoul face underneath the mask. All of that has been the ones that I just thought worked really nicely. Jennifer Morales with the super chat. Thank you so much for that. What was your favorite performance in It 2? So I think Bill Hader, John Hader, that's a different person. Hader, I think just obviously was the kind of a bit of a scene stealer. The character is written to be more of a scene stealer because he's the funny guy. And, even coming up in the first one, it was the same sort of way that he was the scene stealer because he's the guy cracking jokes. And they wrote good jokes for him inside of this one. So I think inherently he kind of sticks out a little bit. When I watched, I thought James McAvoy also carried a lot of the emotional weight of the film. He has more throughout the film, emotional scenes, crying scenes, things like that I thought that worked nicely. And then just on an arc level, I believe it's Ben, the one that's the hot guy now, of just like, I just believed him. I just believed he was the kid from the movie before and that he's the grown-up hot guy version of him that still has the baggage of his childhood. There's still the crush that he likes, and even though he's the hot guy now, she doesn't know all that. I thought all of that kind of worked really well. So, who's my favorite? I have a hard time picking favorites because I think each of them did things that I really liked. So those are just some of my thoughts on it to elaborate a little bit more on things I've said elsewhere. So many questions. Sorry, lots of questions flying by. Trying to get them to slow down. I'm going to try to go back and forth between main section and then the super chats. Brobot456, are you going to watch Arrow Season 8? Yes, I will watch Arrow Season 8. If you don't know, I've kind of made this pretty public. Where they ended Season 7 felt like a series finale for me, and it was. For the series that they'd established for 7 seasons for me, what the show was about, what Oliver Queen, the lead character, was trying to accomplish, the season finale for Season 7 resolved it. But they're doing a crisis event with all the shows kind of coming together. And so for Arrow to be in it, they need a little bit longer. And they set up basically a final arc for the lead character, Oliver Queen, that requires him to still be alive and to do another season. It's very frustrating the way they did all that. As a fan, I feel burned by them because of what they did at the end of that season and what feels like they're doing with Season 8. I'm going to watch it. I was there day number 1. I was back 10 years ago. 4 years-ish before they even announced they were doing Arrow, I was pro let's do Green Arrow because Justin Hartley from This Is Us was on Smallville as Oliver Queen. I was like, give him his own spinoff. Fun fact, he actually played Aquaman on an unaired pilot called Mercy Reef, where he was like his Aquaman Ving Rhames was in it and everything. So that was back even before he was Green Arrow. Fun fact, but I will watch it. I'm very frustrated. Oh, there's so many questions in here. Sondroy Productions. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced with the super chat. Thank you so much. What's your favorite horror movie of 2019? I don't have a list in front of me. So, I mean, off the top of my head, I could be missing something. If you guys in this chats could try and remind me if I'm missing something, Ready or Not's probably the one that I'm going to be most excited about. It's not, it feels more thriller to me, little horror thriller, home escape type film. That's the one I'll be talking about the most. I had my issues with it. I was frustrated that they didn't do certain things with it. That's the one that kind of gets me the most excited when I think about it. It's the one that came out last month. I could be forgetting a movie, but the basic idea of it, Samara Weaving, the cast in general, I just loved a lot of things about it. I just wish the kind of way they did some of the lead character, I wish they'd given her a little bit more of a driving factor with the plot going into the second half of the film. That's the one that comes to mind, I think. I could be missing some other horror film that came out that I could be like more. Someone asked it. I don't know what the name was. But do I think WB messed up the DCEU? Yeah, and that's the way I would describe it. I would say that WB messed up their movies. They wanted to rush what they were doing. They wanted to play catch up rather than to make a great cinematic universe. Kevin Feige had a big master plan, and he spent years kind of putting the pieces in place, had growing pains along the way. And it felt like WB we want this to happen too. We don't have a Kevin Feige. We don't have a guy running this deal. So let's jump on what Zack Snyder did with this idea. Like, if you don't know, Man of Steel came about because while David Goyer was writing The Dark Knight Rises, he kind of had a week where he wasn't sure where he wanted to go. And he just brainstormed, what would I do if I did a Superman movie? He pitched it to Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan went, I like that. He pitched it to WB. And then they went, yeah, let's make that our new Superman movie. But that's heavily based off of you're following up The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan says, here's my Superman idea with my buddy David Goyer. And they went with it, and then they brought Zack Snyder in to direct it. That's the story of where Man of Steel came about. It wasn't supposed to set up a shared universe, and that's what they decided to build a shared universe out of it. And that's a pretty cynical thing to do. So I think they screwed it up by not having a plan, not setting out to create a universe, but trying to play catch up after the fact. Majestic Demon with a super chat. Thank you so much. Are there any movie franchises you wanted to rank but haven't gotten to them yet? There's actually tons of franchises that I want to rank. There's a lot of them even that it's some of it's just a matter of trying to go what you guys want combined with what it's a little bit of what people want as well as what I want to do. And some of there's a lot of times where things I want to do that I'm kind of interested in talking about, they're not as popular. I'm a bigger fan of like rated R old school action franchises than my fan base is. My fan base is built largely around current blockbusters, and they're not. There are people that are largely younger than me, not all of them. But so then I had fun with the Has Fallen franchise because it's just a throwback action franchise. It wasn't a very successful video for me. But like you can think back through whenever I ranked like the Lethal Weapon movies, the Die Hard movies, all of those performed way less than I would have preferred. So a lot of things like that, I slowed down kind of cranking out some of those types of franchises that are a little bit out of date now. But I have these big, gigantic lists of franchises that I'm working on, and sometimes it's just a matter of timing. Like next month, I might do the Evil Dead movies. I love to talk about the Evil Dead movies. Even right over there, I have a stack of Blu-rays I pulled out. The Evil Dead remake to potentially watch it a few weeks back. I didn't end up watching it, but there's a lot of stuff like that that's always running through my mind. But yeah, absolutely, there's franchises I haven't got to. Sometimes it's a matter of certain ones, they're just so big, and I don't want to do I'll say this. Movie franchises, it isn't as much where I haven't been able to do them. Like James Bond would be the big one that I haven't done yet. It's coming. We're going to get it with the new movie coming out next year. But directors, like I would love to be able to rank all the Spielberg movies or Scorsese. And a lot of these ones you guys recommend to me and say, can you do this? It's tough to justify it because it's over 20 movies and I get one video out of it. And it's not like with the MCU where that's going to be my big hit content. That's my niche. Spielberg movies isn't my niche, so I don't know how well it'll perform, and I only get one video out of it. I watch all the MCU movies. That's a lot of videos that most of you guys will enjoy. So that's my thought process on a lot of that. Okay, Chicken Nugget. What is your favorite Taco Bell movie? Perfect question for today. 2 hours ago, I shot tomorrow's video. Tomorrow's video is my top 10 favorite Taco Bell movies plus 5 more runners-up. I'm not going to answer your question. Come back tomorrow and you'll find out my 10/15 favorite Taco Bell movies. My wife approved my list. So it's a lot of different types of things in there. So that one is for tomorrow. Whole video about that thing. Fisher130, what's your favorite video you've made? I really enjoy the stuff that's a little bit more researched. The video that I did at the beginning of July of canceled Spider-Man movies, that sort of thing, I enjoy doing that, where it's like I do research and I feel like I'm actually informing you. It's about something I'm excited about. It's a video that I wish existed. I haven't found a nice, concise version of it. So I like to do things like that. I actually had a lot of fun with my Spider-Man pitch I did a couple weeks ago. I did that because my patrons recommended it. Like they voted on it and I went for it. And I got really into that. But it's different sorts of stuff. Those are the ones that I remember because, I did tons of rankings. And I guess if I were to do a ranking, my favorite ranking would be my Marvel 58 ranking because that was such a big project that was like, this is what my channel's all about. Let's do something ridiculous. Let's do something that I haven't seen a lot of people do. All 58 Marvel movies. I'm rewatching all these in a 6-month period span of time. But it's the stuff that's more interesting, that takes a lot of work, that I have to think about it, research something, spend 6 months watching a bunch of videos. So I'm always trying to think, when can I make those things happen? They're more difficult. I might, around Joker, I have both an idea for canceled Batman movies. I'll probably do 2 videos out of that one. I should have done the Spider-Man one in probably 2 videos, but there's a lot of canceled Batman movies that are interesting. So that's one concept. I also have my pitch for a Batman TV show. If I have the time to make all this happen, that's another one that's in my mind. So of things that are coming up that are also like ones that get me kind of excited. With a super chat, thank you so much from Priscilla Machado. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Have you watched Peaky Blinders? I have not. I think I've watched the first episode. That's it. Do you think Cillian Murphy as Nightmare in Doctor Strange 2? I mean, he's a great actor that I think has a little bit of a sleazy vibe to him. So I think the idea of bringing him into the MCU as Nightmare sounds pretty good to me. I'm not super familiar with the character, just off the nature of the character's name, Doctor Strange, his acting chops, what he kind of brings to the table. Sounds like something that I would be interested in. So definitely I would be on board with that pick. Carter Lovejoy with the super chat. Thank you so much. Do you think a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit would work? What's one of the Disney sequel, reboot, remake, spin-offs I would love to see happen, plot and cast ideas? All right, you got a lot of questions in there. I'll do my best to get these. So what do you think of a sequel to Who Framed Roger would work? Do I think a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit? No, Bob Hoskins is dead. I think you would do a reboot. I think you'd have to do that, or just a reimagining if you were to do Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think the idea of kind of this noir detective guy in Hollywood-esque era, I think there's a lot of interesting things about that you can do, and the technology's improved enough that if you were to retell it, it might work a little bit better. But I don't know that you could do it because 2D animation isn't what it was before. And so I think some of the novelty gets lost when we're used to seeing characters interact with animated characters. Like we see that all the time. Like that's just totally normal. That's every blockbuster these days. It's a CGI character that's meant to look realistic, but I think some of the novelties lost. So I don't know if it would work anymore. As well as I think the part of the magic of Who Framed Roger Rabbit was that it was that time period of the 1930s, and that's part of what made it work. So you'd have to go back to that time period, I think, to do classic Hollywood type stuff, PI. And the movie already exists. So I don't know if you can, what you would do with it. I don't have a pitch that comes to mind. And what's one of the Disney sequel, reboot, remake, spin-offs I would love to... Oh, excuse me. I misread that. That's one of the Disney reboot sequels that I would love to have happen. Plot, cast ideas. So anyway, I guess that would be my pitch. I think you would have to do a remake. I just don't know how it would work in the year 2019 beyond. I think you just have to go back to that. Part of the magic is that noir 30s vibe, and you would once again use the same similar style of it. I don't know what you can bring to the table. So I don't have a pitch for how to make it work, I don't think. Okay, Micah Glessman, what's the weirdest movie experience? I went and saw Mulholland Drive without knowing what it was. Just went in, but he's like, oh, he's an artistic director, you should check this out. And so I went to go see it. In the first half of the movie's it's like 3 narratives going on, and occasionally it has kind of weird imagery stuff, but generally straightforward storytelling about like someone trying to get cast in Hollywood and stuff like that. And then it just turns like halfway through it and goes just bonkers, very dream-esque of like you're watching a character and they're doing one thing and then it just transitions into something different, like happens in your dreams. And I like, what am I watching? It was just bonkers. So that was one that comes to mind. And then 2 years ago, I went to this film festival called Fantastic Fest. I'm going again to it 5 days from now. It starts next Thursday, 6 days from now. So I'll be at it again. And they had a bunch of movies at that I just didn't know what I was going into. And once again, just these bizarre foreign films, just weird stuff happening and just psychedelic. I've never done acid, but now I think I know what it's like to be on acid having watched these films. But if I had to give a title to one, Mulholland Drive was the one that I went into it and was like, what did I just watch? Whoa. Bryce Daly with a super chat. Thank you so much. Do you plan on getting DC Universe and watching Titans, Doom Patrol, and Swamp Thing? So I've had DC Universe. So the 2 questions, do I plan on getting it? I have it. Do I plan on watching Titans? I have watched Titans. I've watched all the episodes of Titans. I even watched the new episodes that came out a couple days ago. I've watched the first episode of Doom Patrol. I haven't watched any of Swamp Thing. Maybe I'll catch up on Doom Patrol. Maybe I'll watch Swamp Thing. It just hasn't happened yet. As for Titans, I'll give some thoughts on it. But I with Titans, I feel like they don't understand the audience, or at least me as an audience member. And so it feels like they're trying to distinguish themselves by trying to do this rated R thing and trying to have a bit of a horror vibe while doing a superhero show with the Teen Titans. And I don't feel like it fully meshes. Like there's moments where I'm like, oh, I really dig this. This is the show I want it to be. And then like this episode this week, I was like, this is just full out horror show that doesn't quite work. And every time that it does the rated R stuff, it always feels to me like a 13-year-old trying to show you how grown up he is. It feels like a 13-year-old overcooking the cussing. Like that's what it feels like to me. And so I'm not fully on board with it, though it has its moments that I enjoy it enough. There's enough potential that I think if I keep watching, maybe it'll be the show I want it to be. It just hasn't fully been that. James Skinner with a super chat. Hey man, hey Sean, Suicide Squad 2 casting thoughts. So, if you don't know what he's talking about, James Gunn posted a graphic earlier today, 20 plus people for it. What did I think about it? So the standouts inside of it is you see Margot Robbie is returning. You got Jai Courtney in there, so he's Captain Boomerang. Joel Kinnaman's on there as was it Flag? Viola Davis is returning. So several prominent names returning. You got Idris Elba in there, and you got Taika Waititi, Nathan Fillion, tons of talent. Like literally, like 20 names on this deal. What do I think about it? We kind of knew a lot of these people were happening. We kind of knew this. It does confirm Margot Robbie's returning, so that was a big question that I even saw on Twitter quite a bit just 2 days ago. It doesn't get me more excited or less excited because I'd heard some of this stuff, the rumors of, James Gunn bringing his buddies in. So it makes it tangible, though. Like, this is actually happening. James Gunn is making this movie. He's spending time on it. David Ayer, when he did Suicide Squad, he had 6 weeks to write the script. You've seen the movie. That's what happens when you have 6 weeks to write a script and then it's re-edited to try and fix it. That's what he learned lesson. James Gunn had his time to write this. So, he said on it when he said, don't get too attached. He said something like, he tweeted this image and it said, don't be too attached, which means a bunch of these people are probably going to die, which once again, with Suicide Squad, you want a bunch of them to die. So, sounds good to me. All right, back in our main section, trying to... got some questions here. Backwards Brain, will you be vote imaging for Kanye West in 2020? Probably going to go with no on that one. Jacob Murphy, how come you can't do a Friends season? I assume you mean rank the Friends seasons. I mean, just to get this information out there as much as I possibly can. People ask me all the time, hey, can you rank Brooklyn 999. Hey, can you rank the seasons of Friends? That's a huge one. How I Met Your Mother. To rank the seasons, I have to rewatch the entire show. That's a lot of work to do one video. You just stop and think about that. A season of television, even 30-minute shows, it's about 10 hours. 10 hours times 10 seasons is 100 hours of watching Friends to do one video. So, maybe you could rank the characters too. Okay. 2 videos. 100 hours of watching stuff. And I just don't want to get into that business. I don't want to rewatch Friends right now. I don't mind Friends. I'm fine with Friends. I don't want to watch 10 seasons of it. I did it with Parks and Rec and The Office because those are shows my wife and I just watch. And so that's the thought process on a lot of stuff. What are the shows? Like right now I'm rewatching Breaking Bad to rank the seasons when the movie comes out. I want to rewatch Breaking Bad. It's not 10 seasons long. And that makes a big difference as to how tangible something is. How many seasons is it? Is there an event coming up? Like if they said, we're doing a reunion of Friends, we're actually going to do a 2-hour Friends movie, I probably would do a Friends season ranking. If that doesn't happen, I'm probably never going to do it because it's just too much stuff for one video. You just have to think, that's 100 hours of work on my part because that's work. That's other stuff I'm not watching to do a Friends season ranking. That's my thought process on all this stuff. Tony Movie 9 Mendez. Let's get into the internet's controversies. Do you want the Snyder Cut of Justice League? If they actually made a proper Snyder Cut, Snyder came in and they let him do some shooting, they put budget into it so they could actually finish it, I would love to see that. But here's the thing about the Snyder Cut. It's not even Snyder's vision for the film. This is not like me supposing things are like anything like that. Snyder's vision for Justice League was 2 movies. This is 1 movie. Right off the bat, it's squished. And then right as he was about to start shooting it, they were like, people said Batman v Superman was too dark. Can you just lighten it up real quick? Lighten it up real quick. And then there were people on set like micromanaging him that's not Snyder's vision. It never was. So even if you get the Snyder Cut, it's not Snyder's Justice League, actually. It's the best Snyder could do with Warner Brothers freaking out, trying to course correct. So would I be interested in it? Yeah. Do I think that a proper Snyder Cut actually exists? His vision. It just doesn't. Because what he shot was already compromised because WB was freaking out because of the response to Batman v Superman. Real quick, and I'll jump over to the Super Chats. Caleb Cook, can you make a video reacting to the newest Terminator Dark Fate trailer? Go time now. What do you think of Dark Fate? If I don't do a reaction the day a trailer drops, I'm not going to do a video about it. The reactions, it's very timely, and so I'm just not going to do it. I enjoy talking about movies. Reacting is just a packaging that people seem to enjoy. But as for Dark Fate, my feelings haven't really changed since the first trailer or my video on most anticipated of the fall. We got a new trailer. It's a better trailer as the art of a trailer. It doesn't sell a different movie than the first trailer did. They sell the same premise, which is to say it feels a little bit like we're doing a little T3, a little bit of Genesis. T3 we got a new type of Terminator going back in time. In the idea of like everything getting pushed back a little bit. Genesis, some little plot lines inside of it as well. But I wish they weren't rehashing so much, but it's Terminator, so I'm excited about it. All right, heading over to the Super Chats. The Brock's Pop side with Super Chat. Thank you so much. What do you think of the people... what do you look for in people to collaborate with? It kind of depends on what the collaboration is. We're talking about YouTube. I've done about 30 collaborations this year. If it's someone inviting me to be on their podcast, I say yes to a lot of those because they're long-form discussions. It's different content that I put on my channel, and I don't have to like edit a video. I don't have to set up a camera. I can just talk to them, and they can use that. So I say yes to almost every podcast invite that I get. When it comes to kind of appearing on other people's channels, is there something that I didn't normally do on my channel normally is what I'm looking for. So if someone wants to interview me for their channel to talk about YouTube, to talk about movie reviewing, something like that, something where they think I have an expertise that I wouldn't normally talk about on my channel, that's interesting to me. When it comes to collaborations to be on my channel, that's just invite only. It's just a matter of, I think through who would be good for a specific, if I'm lacking a skill set that they might be able to bring in. So like my friend Rachel, I brought her in for a couple of rankings on Disney films because she's better at that. She's watched them more than I have. In November, I might do a High School Musical ranking. I'm not the target audience. I didn't grow up watching this. I've never seen the High School Musical movies. So I've got a couple of my friends in the movieverse that I'll probably collaborate with them for that video. But that's the way I think about it. What makes it interesting to me? If you're like, hey, can you come on my channel just to rank Marvel movies? That's what I do on my channel. I don't want to go on your channel to do that because that's what I do on my channel. What do you have that's interesting and different? Jail Productions with Super Chat. Thank you so much. Thoughts on the Dr. Sleep trailer? This second one I actually liked quite a bit more. I'm pretty open about this. I've never been a big Kubrick fan. He's a little bit more artistic than the way I'm wired. I'm kind of more concrete. He's ambiguous in certain things that he does. And so that's why people love him. That's why he's creative. That's why he's a genius. I'm not a genius. I'm a little bit like things more concrete and straightforward in my storytelling. That's what I'm a little bit better at. That's what I connect with better. That's not hate on Kubrick. I'm not trashing him. I'm just saying that's not the way that I'm wired. And then in his Shining, the Shining itself is kind of in the background. There's implications that it's what's driving Jack crazy, and his son is able to master a little bit better than him, and so Jack's just driven crazy by the stuff that is his experience with these powers. What I liked about the Dr. Sleep trailers is it brings it more into my realm, which is a little bit more straightforward. People with the Shining, good people with the Shining, bad people with the Shining, duking it out a little bit, and so certainly takes away a bit of the Kubrick magic, the artistic side to tell a straightforward. I'm suggesting it's straightforward. It could be a lot more artistic in black and white or gray than I'm suggesting, but more black and white from the trailer. Good versus evil, shining people. So it almost comes like a comic book movie to me, superhero movie to me. It's like, oh yeah, that's right up my alley. Except with a horror vibe, I'm sold. Like the trailer that I saw in front of It Chapter 2, I totally was into it. Mariana Belotti. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced that. Favorite Star Wars character? That's tough right now. I would say Luke Skywalker, but I didn't like what they did with him in Last Jedi. Things that made me really like him from the original trilogy kind of got undone. Like wasn't a compelling undone. It wasn't like, oh, new direction, broken heroes. It was like, I just don't like what you did here. So then I'll default to everyone's favorite scruffy looking nerf herder. Well, let's go with Han Solo. Even the Solo movie itself had its flaws, but I don't think it hurt the character really. He still was. It didn't probably made him. It was like affirmed he was always kind of a good guy at heart, but kind of a scoundrel. But he's actually a good guy. But it didn't hurt the character for me. So I guess I'll go with Han Solo because I feel like Last Jedi knocked back Luke Skywalker a little bit for me. Harry BHF with a super chat. Thank you so much. We're back to Kubrick. Hi, Sean. What is your favorite Kubrick film? That's a tough one. Like I said, Kubrick's not the way I'm wired. And so then it's always tough for me because I connect with his movies in a little bit different ways. Full Metal Jacket's probably the one that I would just kind of like, that movie hit me the way that it was intended to hit you. Just the horrors of the intro part, the memorable, quotable lines leading to like the horror of what actually was going on, leading into the actual war itself. That's the one that comes to mind. You did one like 1955 called The Killing. That's more of a straightforward crime drama that enjoyed that one. And then it's like it's tough for me because the things that make 2001 and The Shining classic Kubrick are also the things that make the movies that like I respect them more than I enjoy them. Over in the main section, Ed Brains, will you ever do an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review? Probably not. Same reason that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. I've seen the first 12 episodes. It didn't resonate with me. By the time I started my channel, it was like 4 seasons in. So to do a ranking, to do a review of it, that means I have to watch 100 hours of television to do one video, to do a ranking. And it's just too much, and it feels like homework at a certain point in time. And I don't want to do things that feel like homework at a certain point in time. Like, I can go watch a movie that I wouldn't necessarily want to go see, 2-hour movie. 100 hours of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it's a show I haven't really resonated with, probably not for me. If you guys in the chat can tell people when I've answered some of these questions, like some people are asking what I thought about the Suicide Squad stuff. I already talked about it twice, actually. Dorito Chip Gamer, what's your favorite NFL team? The Broncos. Both of my parents are from Denver, Colorado, so my family disowns me if I don't say the Broncos. Dwayne Schwartz, besides analyzing movies, do you have any other hobbies? Going to the gym. I go to the gym. Try to keep in shape these days, hang out with some friends of mine. I do music at my church. So right now I'm actually doing a little bit of singing, playing guitar. And so I actually recently just bought Line 6 HX Stomp literally a week or two ago. And so that's some of the stuff. And you can track a lot of the stuff if you follow me on Instagram. On Instagram, if you send me direct messages on Instagram, I read all of it and I respond to almost everything. Because I read everything, respond to everything that I can respond to. So if you're wondering how to get in contact with me, Instagram is the best place to do that. A lot of people asking me about Game of Thrones. Read the description down below. I have not seen Game of Thrones. Sometime I'll probably watch it. But it's one of those shows. My family channel is just family friendly enough that the show that kicks off with, marital rape, incest, or 2 cases of incest, molestation, brothels, it's just a guy trying to kill a kid. It's just a lot of rape for the nature of my channel. It just feels a little bit off for me, from my perspective. Joey Fubert with the Super Chat. Thank you so much. What's your favorite and least favorite soundtrack and why? I don't have a least favorite. Certainly would have a least favorite because there's just too many out there. Because there's 1,000 movie soundtracks that you just forget about, that just totally don't catch your mind. So it would come down to one that was kind of distracting. There's a ton of horror movies that just had low budget, cheap soundtracks. There's a ton of just a ton of cheap ones. So I couldn't come up with favorite. I don't really have a favorite. So I'll list off 3 favorite composers and some favorites from them. John Williams is always my number one. Superman's a perfect score. The original Star Wars trilogy, perfect scores. Harry Potter's a perfect score. I'm not even, Harry Potter's not necessarily my thing. It doesn't change the fact it's a perfect score. Raiders of the Lost Ark, perfect score. He just had so many perfect scores. Jurassic Park, perfect score. James Horner, Star Trek 2, Aliens, so many others. He has a bunch of just fantastic scores. He gets a little bit not as much of attention as I think he should. Some of that's because he ripped himself off a lot. Like, you hear a James Horner score, a lot of times it sounds exactly like some of his other stuff, but he has a bunch of great stuff. And then Hans Zimmer's, of course, one of the classics of right now. Man of Steel being a favorite of mine. And then Alan Silvestri, Back to the Future, a perfect score. So there's a lot of these. Those are some favorites. Little Red Ruhar, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, with Super Chat. Thank you so much. Paintings on the Sorcerers Apprentice from Nick Cage one. So my Disney live action remake video, I talk about it in there. I do talk about it. I rewatched it sometime earlier this year. Talk about it in that video. So it's from May, so you can hear my full thoughts that I thought through it, wrote notes. It was a movie that was not as interesting as it should have been, but not as bad as it could have been. So it kind of just falls into this kind of bland middle. John Turteltaub directed it. He's the guy that did the National Treasure movies with Nicolas Cage. I thought those were very vibrant, fun adventure films. So the idea of them teaming up to do a sorcerer movie, that should be a lot more fun than this movie is. But it's not bad. It's just that mediocre middle was my takeaway from it. Even if Jay Barshall's in there, Alfred Molina is the villain. All of that should make for a more interesting film or a more interesting failure than this movie. It just felt bland to me. Hey Sean with Super Chat, or Suni, Tony Movie 9 Mendes with Super Chat. Thank you so much. Hey Sean, will you ever curse on you channel? Ever curse on my channel? I've said a couple of minor curse words, cuss words in some of my videos. I mean, I don't want to do it just because you're telling me to do it, and I also don't want to. I don't know. If you around my wife, I say all sorts of things I wouldn't say on my channel. I try and have a family-friendly channel. I tried to be, example of a lot of young viewers that have a similar background to mine, coming from church world. The way I talk out in public is very similar to the way I talk on my channel. I'm not a different person. You wouldn't be like, I couldn't believe what he's... So back in the day, Bob Saget was the star on Full House, and then he had America's Funniest Videos, so he's like the family-friendly guy. If you watch his stand-up routine, it's super crass, vulgar sex jokes. And so you see him and he's like, I'm not that at all. Except around my wife, I'll say a lot of things around her that I just don't normally would say. So people that know me well, I'll say things to just try and shock them. Like, that's my humor. A lot of it in real life is much more like trying to say inappropriate things to make people uncomfortable. I make a lot of just dark jokes about some of the tragedies in my past around people because it's funny to me. That's the way I actually am. Will I ever cuss on my channel? I've said a little things here and there. Yeah. When I do, there's always this person that's like, Sean, you shouldn't have said that. Can you remake this video without that? Like, no, I'm not going to remake my video because I said a word that I don't think you're actually offended that I said it. It wasn't like I said anything particularly offensive, but anyway, there's some thoughts on that. I just wasn't raised that way. My dad, his nickname for me was S-word head growing up. I was always around crass, vulgar humor. It doesn't offend me at all. Like most people I know are much more vulgar than me. I just have never been like that because for whatever reason, of all the rules my mother had that I never followed and was okay breaking, the language one, I just stuck with it. And so it's just doesn't feel natural for me to do. When I say cuss words, I feel like a 13-year-old kid trying to impress people talking like a grown-up. Even though I've been a grown-up for a while now. Questions. Marvel fanatic, what are your thoughts on Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker? I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. All the trailers indicate fantastic performance. All the buzz, fantastic performance. So I'm just kind of going in, trying to not have too many expectations other than it's going to be very disturbing. Hunter Jameson, are you excited for No Time to Die? Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the Daniel Craig Bond films. I'm going to rank all the movies after it comes out. I think I'm going to rank each actor's movies leading up to it. So in December, I'll rank the Sean Connery films, Roger Moore January will be George Lazenby. That'll be a tough video to make. I don't know who's going to come in first in that ranking. February, that's kidding. I don't know how exactly I can break some of that stuff up. But each month, do a different one of these rankings. I'll probably do Timothy Dalton with George Lazenby. So I don't know, but that's what I'm planning on doing. But yeah, I'm excited for it. To see what will happen with that one. All right, Twister25. We're getting some personal questions in there. How old are you? I'm 37. I turned 38 in November. So very close to 38. How old were you when you met your wife? I met her in 2000. Well, I knew of her before I met her, and I met her brother. We grew up. We were at the same church, but it was a large church, and so we had the same friend group. So I knew of her, hadn't met her, but I met her in 2005. I hadn't had my birthday yet, so I was 23 when I met her. How old were when you guys married? I had just turned 25 when we got married. How old were when you had a baby? I was 30 when our first kid was born. So that's trying to do a lot of math real quick there. So, but yeah, I met my wife at a mutual friend's 4th of July party. We were married a year and a half later. And then 5 years later, baby number 1 came along, Liam, who is 7. If you don't know, baby number 3 turned 1 yesterday. So there's some personal questions in there. Daniel Schwartz, are you at all political? I have a lot of political thoughts. Most of it boils down to the two parties are insane. They've lost their minds and they're trying to out crazy one another. And I just wish we had someone sensible, like normal person in there that doesn't come off like they're pandering to the craziest people out there. I have a lot of thoughts. I try and follow news shows from both sides. People that, whatever group of people I'm in, if I say who they are, Someone in the group will be like, "What? You like that nut bar?" And someone will be like, "Oh, great, you like that person." And I mention someone else, and the other side's like, "What? You're listening to that crazy person?" So as long as I'm making everybody think that I'm listening to someone crazy, then I probably am getting more balanced take on it by hearing all the different sides. So I try to be sensible, and it's not. I wouldn't even say that I'm moderate, because I think I have strong opinions, but they're from all different sides. Like most normal people, they don't just fall in line with right or left. They tend to have a lot of different thoughts that kind of line up with the different sides. But I have many strong thoughts on many different things. All right, back to our super chats. Polo R with the chat. Thank you so much. Have you seen Cinema Paradiso? If not, you should. I have not. I'm not even sure what that is. So I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't. I have not seen it, unfortunately, or even a trailer. Know much about what it is. Indie Funk, or I don't remember it said Indie Funk. Thank you so much for the super chat. Hey Sean, I loved your Office ranking. Performance Review is my favorite, but I have a hard time ranking season 2 as well. If you guys don't know, Andy actually has a YouTube channel. You should check it out. Does similar content to mine. Started out fairly recently, so he's starting out. So yeah, give him a try if you like kind of to support smaller YouTubers. Andy is an up and comer. And so I've talked with him on video chat before. So yeah, season 2 is rough to rank. It was literally, it's one of the reasons it took me so long to make the video. I started working on it, writing notes 5 months ago or something like that. But then it was like, oh man, and I like the season. I think it works really well as a whole, because even some of the episodes I had towards the bottom, I was ranking them as standalone episodes, but as a piece of the season, they're really important, and they're important parts of it. So it was a tough one for me. So many classics. And that's one of, basically, 2008, Get Smart came out. I grew up watching the old TV show Get Smart. The remake starred Steve Carell, Anne Hathaway. I almost said Anne Heche for some reason. Anne Hathaway. So my wife and I watched it. We really enjoyed it. We like this Steve Carell guy. Doesn't he have a TV show? And so we started watching The Office. And we've basically been watching seasons 1 through 4 on loop ever since. For 11 years now, kind of been watching those 4 seasons. We watched the other seasons from time to time too, but really 1 through 4 plus our favorite episodes from the later seasons. Since watching that movie, it's been one of those shows that's kind of defined our marriage a little bit. Majestic Demon with Super Chat, thank you so much. Are there any Marvel quotes that you always repeat? Always repeat. I don't think that I have any quotes that I repeat that come to mind. That's not a movie that there's obviously a ton of great quotes, like just the usage of I am Iron Man in the original Iron Man, and then Endgame, I think, is fantastic. Of course, the great quote in Civil War from Captain America, like, I'm not going to move, you move. That's another great one. Maybe there's... Actually, the one that I'm most famous for quoting is... some Drax lines would be the ones. I called an intern a green whore once, and I'm still friends with the family and everything, but and weren't on bad terms or anything. We actually still talk, she tweets me back and forth on stuff. She was asking me once upon a time on Hollywood recently, but I think that as apparently girls don't like it when you do that. So it's not one of my jokes that landed particularly well, but Drax one's probably Drax quotes would be the ones that probably come to mind. Parker Long, favorite Funko. So this one right here was given to me by a fan. Like, they just sent it to me in a fan mail. So this one just has a lot of sentimental value of just like, that's really cool that someone would do that. I really appreciate it. And it was one that's like I watched The Flash, and then like The Flash, the old TV show, is like a big part of my childhood. So that was a big one. Big Office fan. So this one's a big deal. Over there, I've got a Great White Jaws one that one of our babysitters, one of our family friends gave it to my wife. So that one's real cool. My wife picked me up the Stan Lee one that I have. That's like a bootlegged one. I don't think it's legit, but that's a cool one. And then I like my Daredevil one. So there's just some personal favorite ones that kind of come to mind. Crash Dash, will you do collaborations with other people? I've done 30 collaborations with other people this year. I've appeared on, I think, like 15 or 20 podcasts. I've appeared on a bunch of other people's YouTube channels. I've done a lot of collaborations. I don't have, and then even just earlier this week, my friend Rachel, Rotten Tomatoes certified critic, Hallmarky podcast, kind of Disney animation kind of expert. She was on my channel 3 days ago. So will I do collaborations? I do collaborations. If you're wondering, will I do collaborations with John Flickinger, John Campia, Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, Collider, Schmozno, I don't, whatever the other ones are. The answer to those questions are, if they invited me, any of those people, I would say yes. I will buy a ticket. I will fly out to where they live and shoot with them. Any of those people, I would say yes to them. Just yes. If they want to collaborate with me, I'll say yes. But keep in mind, I'm like an up-and-comer. Like, I started 3 years ago. John Campia started doing movie stuff 15 years ago. Like, he's a legend in the space that I'm doing. You know, the Screen Junkies people, they have millions of subscribers. Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman, they have over 10 times as many subscribers as I do. So keep in mind that they're a lot more established. They probably don't know who I am. They never heard of me. So if they want to work with me, I'll tell them yes. I'll fly out to them. If you want to tweet at them, if you want to leave comments, cool. Chris Stuckman is going to be at the film festival that I'm going to be at this week. I'm actually really shy and introverted. People don't know that. I can have a lot of social anxiety. I'm not this personality. I'm not like that in a room full of people I don't know. So Chris Stuckman's going to be at this event I'm going to be at. I'm hoping to meet him. He'll be at the same, like, I'll see him. I'll see movies in the same theater as him, hoping that I have the bravery to go shake his hand, have a conversation with him. But like, I'm a very shy person. But these people probably don't know who I am. I don't know. Like, it's tough for me to interpret what level of fame I have. I know how many subscribers I have. I don't know what that translates to actual perception to other people. It's the YouTube fame and being able to do this full time is a weird deal. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question and some thoughts on some of it. But fingers crossed, I'll become best friends with Chris Stuckman and I can apologize to him for stealing his set. Or I can invite him, hey, if you want to shoot on your set, I've already got it at my house. I'll just take my posters down. Son of TNT with Super Chat. Thank you so much. What is your favorite show in the Arrowverse? I don't really know. I mean, it's either Flash or Arrow. If I were going to a desert island and only got one of the shows, I'd probably take Arrow. So I think the one that just kind of resonates with me, that like I'm a little bit more angsty in what I enjoy. So the idea of a vigilante killing people, those first couple seasons of Arrow, that's a little bit right up more my alley. So that's in there. The first couple seasons are also a little bit like them trying to do Batman without being able to do Batman. There's definitely some Batman stuff in there. Even season 3 when you get Ra's al Ghul in the mix. So I think I would go with Arrow if I had to. Nathan Albers, the Nathan Albers? Wow. If you don't know, if this is my Nathan Albers, he's the guy that actually wrote most of my puns in my MCU rankings. He's the guy that actually wrote them. Nathan Albers with a super chat. Thank you so much. And thank you, friend, for money, if assuming you're my guy. I love your pitch videos. Will you do one for the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman trilogy? I don't know. I don't know if I'll do a pitch for his trilogy because the reason I did my Spider-Man 4 pitch was because when I was thinking what would I pitch for a Spider-Man movie, that's where I went with it. Because I didn't want to do a hard reboot. And then the things that would resonate with me a little bit more were Spider-Man 4, so I could continue that. That's where that came from. But if I were to do a Batman pitch, I wouldn't naturally default to Robert Pattinson age Batman. Like I don't know exactly what I would do if I were to do movies. My pitch for Batman would actually be a TV show. The one that where I have an idea, I get excited about it. You do a Batman continuity and you map it out early on, like 8 seasons, 10 episodes each, and you pick a bunch of these iconic storylines and they kind of cover each season. So season 1 is kind of Batman Year One a little bit. There's not as many of the fantastical villains. Then you get to season 2 and Joker comes into it. Season 4 ends, Batman's back is broken because we did Nightfall during season 4. That's my pitch. And I might do this video next month before Joker comes out. Because I just don't, it's tough for me to know how to pitch a movie that's not the direction that I would go with it. That's not the thing that I would take the character in that direction. I will say this, since Ben Affleck fell out on being able to do it, Academy Award winning Ben Affleck fell out, Matt Reeves is a person that I would absolutely be very high on my list of people I would be excited to do a Batman movie. He's the person doing the Batman movie. So despite all the development hell stuff going on, I really like Matt Reeves as the pick to do this. Very much so. All right, back to our main list. Let me see if this catches up with you. Oh, there it goes. Okay, Sean Brumble, have you seen Spaceballs? Yeah, I've seen Spaceballs many, many, many times. Sorry if I'm itching my nose. When I talk too long, my nose starts to itch. Have you seen Spaceballs? I've seen it many times. It's not a movie that I rewatch a lot. Even when I watch the trailer, I'm like, okay, it's kind of amusing, but it's not. I don't have a temptation to rewatch it. Even of that genre, I like a lot of the other movies in that genre from the 80s, Naked Gun, Airplane, more so than I enjoyed Spaceballs. Someone asked about a DreamWorks ranking. Actually, about 1 million people asked me about a DreamWorks ranking. I'll probably do it next year. I'll probably try and make that happen. That's one of those rankings that it's like almost 40 movies. It's a big video for me to do, so I can't just haphazardly randomly do it. So maybe next year I'll see what their biggest releases are and see if it makes sense to do it. Mike Van Dyke, do you really even like movies? The biggest, one of the best complaints against me as a movie reviewer is that I'm too lenient on movies. I don't give enough bad reviews. I enjoy too many movies, so weird question. Someone asked me about Rick and Morty. I haven't seen Rick and Morty. Gamer Girl, do you consider the new Batman adventures as part of Batman the Animated Series? I do, because the series sets treats that as season 4. If you don't know what she's talking about, back in the early 90s, they did Batman the Animated Series, and it ran for kind of 3 seasons. The way the seasons were broken up is kind of weird. It's 3 volumes. They put them out over a few years, and then they took some time off. They did Superman the Animated Series, and then they came back and did one more set of episodes of Batman the Animated Series as the new Batman Adventures. And they changed the animation style to match Superman. So it was a little bit more streamlined. They redesigned the way that Bruce Wayne looked and some stuff, like certain things like that. There's a distinct look to it that you look at it and immediately go, okay, that's different. And then the season itself, Batgirl's more prominent, Robin's more prominent. It's a different Robin. It's Tim Drake Robin. And then there's more kind of cartoony episodes with animals and stuff like that. So it's tonally pretty different. It looks different. Same voice cast, same continuity. I consider it season 4. I do. Okay, back over to our super chats. Majestic Demon with super chat. Thank you so much. Are you going to rank all the Joker actors after Joker? The plan is to rank all of the Joker actors, live action Joker actors, cinematic movies. So not Cameron, I believe is his name, from Gotham. Not TV shows, things like that, because it gets too tricky, and I haven't watched all of Gotham to be able to do it, and it's not fair to compare it. All cinematic, live action Jokers, I'll be ranking them, yes. That's the plan. I'm going to California, San Diego, and Los Angeles, October 8th. So basically, I've got Joker comes out, I got to crank out some videos related to it, and then I leave town. And I'm going to go to San Diego for about 3 days for a conference for influencers, and then I'm going to LA for a week, just to go to LA for a week. I don't know what'll come of it. If you're in LA and you're like, hey, are you going to do a meetup? I'm going to try. I'm going to try and see if I can do something like that. I don't even know how to do that. I'm not out there. I've got a lot of YouTube friends out there. So I'm going to do my best to do that happen. So, but if you're in the San Diego, Los Angeles area, if you're interested in something like that, message me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Be the best place to do it. Hey, I would be interested in a meetup. Let me know about that. But anyway, I say that on this Joker question because I've got a narrow little window that I do plan on doing a bunch of Batman Joker content that week to have some fun with whatever people want to talk about then. Mitch Stevens, Super Chat, thank you so much. What do you think of the upcoming actress Penny Trait? I don't know who this is. I'll do a quick to see if there's someone I've seen in things or if you're making a joke or... what do you think of the upcoming actress Penny Trait? Don't know who this is. Don't know what I'm looking up. Sorry, I have no thoughts for you. Sorry. Caleb Richardson. I really am sorry. I don't know if you misspelled it or something along those lines, or if you're trying to make a joke. I don't know, but what came up for Penny Trait was not an actress or something we're talking about. Caleb Richardson with the super chat, but no question. Thank you so much for that. If I can catch you in the other section, I'll do my best to do so. Sam Jones with the super chat. Hey, Sean, yeah. Pass on that one, but thanks for the money anyway. Yeah, I actually can phonetically figure out what you're trying to do with things. Superworm, YouTube. What was the reply on the Aladdin video? Hello? I don't know what that means. FC, Sean, see the new trailer of The Flash. I haven't watched any of the trailers for any of the Arrowverse shows that they've done. I haven't watched any of them. I'll watch the seasons, but it's not gonna change. Henry Gillum, can you do a ranking of the Stephen King movies? No, it'll never happen because there's too many. There's like 70 of them, and most people don't even know most of them exist. So it's just too many of them. It's the same thing I mentioned several times in here of why I don't do certain rankings, because there's too many movies to be able to do that thing. Brendan, since you're a fan of The Office, have you seen Parks and Recreation? If you look at my Office playlist, I've ranked the seasons of Parks and Rec. It's in there. So I've already done a video about Parks and Rec. Jacob Murphy, you excited about the new Black Widow movie next year? Why or why not? If you check out my, I did a video. Are you Marvel movies Phase 4 most excited for? I talk about it in there with my full thoughts. Am I excited about Black Widow? Yeah. Yes, I am excited for it generically as a spy movie in this universe that I enjoy. If you're asking, is it one that actually kind of in general, like, man, I'm glad they're doing this. Man, this is something, I can't wait for this. It's not really in that category for me. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I'm sure I'll like it. It's a universe I enjoy, character that I'd like to see more of. I would have preferred this as a Disney Plus series, though. This feels like her in a spy thing with her background. That feels Disney Plus to me. That's what I would get excited about for Disney Plus. As a movie, it's like, okay, why are we going backwards? Like, what are we just throwing her a bone? Like, what are we doing here? I want to move forward with our universe, not tell the story of the person you just killed off. Like, that's an odd thing that feels very odd to me. So that would be my kind of quick take on some of it. With a super chat, our final days. Mary Bang Kill, Campia, Stuckman, Harold. I'm not going to kill or bang any of those people, so sorry. I can't. Thank you for the super chat. If you ask me a weird question, you're probably not going to get an answer from me. Luke Brown, do you like the Bad News Bears? Actually, I watched the trailer for the Billy Bob Thornton Bad News Bears last night, actually. Whenever I watched it, I enjoyed it. I've seen the old one, but I've seen the Billy Bob Thornton one a lot more times. So short answer is yes. Xenix Mason, thoughts on Cobra Kai? I've enjoyed Cobra Kai. Season 1, I really liked it until the last 2 episodes, and then they did some character changes and swap-aroos on some stuff that I wasn't crazy about. I don't think it fully worked. It left me on a sour note. It intentionally kind of did a rethink this a little bit, but I didn't really like what they did. Season 2 I thought was more consistent, but not as high quality in what they did. So I've enjoyed it. I'm excited for season 3. Masa, do you like SpongeBob? I don't think I've actually ever seen an episode of SpongeBob. Gianni Bertani, have you seen King of the Hill? I haven't seen all of King of the Hill. I've seen a lot of King of the Hill. As someone in Central Texas, it's one of those shows that back in the day was huge around here because it takes place in Central Texas. There's a lot of things about it that you're like, yeah, that is kind of like, people like that in real life. So I've seen a lot of King of the Hill, and enjoyed everything that I've seen. Jeff Kitt, do you watch Family Guy? I've actually only seen one episode of Family Guy. I thought it was really funny. I just only seen one episode of it. Some of the questions you guys are asking are things I've talked about, like, am I excited about Star Wars? Am I excited about other movies coming out this fall? I've done a video, most excited movies for anticipated for the fall. Just check out that video. It's got my organized thoughts in there. So random, are you excited for Tenet? It's Nolan. I'm excited just because of Nolan. He has that much star power that I can just, I am excited just because he's involved. Mr. Films and Random, who do you think is the better filmmaker, Nolan or Cameron, Nolan, or classic Spielberg? Who I think is best of that bunch? I think classic Spielberg is the best because of quality, consistency, diversity. Very prolific, a lot of different genres, and a lot of movies that are the best of the genre. You think just kind of thrillers, creature features, Jaws. You think adventure movies. At least 2 of the Indiana Jones movies are just classics that everybody loves. You think dramas on World War II, Schindler's List. You think adventure, sci-fi, Jurassic Park, all classics of the genre. And he's kept working. James Cameron would be in that conversation for me, but he stopped making movies. He's like, we just talk about being prolific. He stopped making movies 20 years ago, and he moved to Pandora over 20 years ago. If you're in high school, James Cameron has only made 1 movie in your lifetime. That's crazy to me. He should be in this conversation. I think he's excluded himself from that conversation. Nolan, I would say, let's give him more time. He is absolutely in that conversation. I think he's a little bit, I think Dunkirk broke the pattern a little bit, maybe a little bit too much in the same box. But give him more time. He's absolutely on the path to be in that conversation, to be that Spielberg. But I think Nolan's a little bit too new. But actually, stop and think about this. Titanic came out 1997. Nolan's first movie came out, I believe, in 99, the following. All of Nolan's movies in the last 20 years. And in those years, James Cameron has given us 1 movie. All the stuff you love about Nolan, in the span that James Cameron has done 1 movie. I don't know, why is James Cameron is doing this to me, but he's constantly breaking my heart this way. Nightmare Fox, are you excited for Venom 2? Yeah, I actually am. It's one of those movies that I had a lot of issues with, like big, gigantic flaws throughout the whole movie. Story issues. But the things that it did right made me go, if you got the right script, like now you figured out the tone, the humor, the special effects, just figure out a script that's good. You need to have a great little Venom movie. So I am actually pretty excited for it. Some people asking me about Suicide Squad again. I've actually talked about it twice in here already. Cliff F, do you think you're going to hate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as much as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? I don't hate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I've never said I hate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I've never implied I hate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You're assigning your emotion to something that I have not assigned to it. I gave it a positive review when it came out. I've praised a lot of things about it. But people want to narrow me into a little corner and say, you hated Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I've never said that. Never said that. I have big issues with it. It's there's plot points I find very distasteful. There's plot points that I really do not enjoy. But whenever people say, do you hate Guardians? No, I don't. I was actually invited to do a collaboration with someone that was like, hey, love, hate on divisive films. Like, you'll be the guy, doing an argument. I hate Guardians Volume 2. And I said no, just because I don't hate the movie. So I don't want to do anything to affirm this perception that I hate this movie that I don't hate. Never said I hate it. I'm not the one that's always kind of bring it up. That's not what's going on at all. I have it low in my rankings because that's my feeling on it, but I love the franchise it's in. So being low on that ranking doesn't mean I hate the movie. It's the franchise that I love, that the low, and I've said that many times in every one of these rankings. I say that. And then likewise, I don't know. It's just one of those ones that it's frustrating to me that people keep trying to portray me as hating something that I don't hate. So I'm not cynical towards Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at all. The plot points that I was cynical about, you can't do another returning dad storyline, so I'm inclined to probably like it quite a bit because you can't have him kill off his siblings again because we already did that story. So I'll probably like it. Some people asking me, am I excited for Matrix 4? Thoughts on Matrix 4? Not really. I mean, like, it's an interesting thing to me. Like, oh, Wachowski's coming back and the cast's coming back. But I didn't like Matrix 2 and 3 all that much. I don't like Matrix. I don't like what they did with the story at all. There's some things in there that I do like. Now that I've had enough time passed, I can like enjoy them more than I did back in the day when they just broke my heart for being so disappointing. Especially the third one. Second one, when I watched it, I was like, okay, let's see how the third one does. And then the third one broke it for me. It's like, oh, this is a terrible place to end this. And then they killed off two of the main characters that they're saying are coming back. So I'm not excited about it because it's not like the Wachowskis have this great track record from the last 20 years of making movies. It's not like they made good sequels before. So there's not a lot there to get me excited other than the fact that technology's advanced to a point in time that there will be some amazing sequences inside of this that will look incredible. Greg Sabatini with the Super Chat. Sorry for mispronouncing your thoughts on A Quiet Place 2. Yeah, I'm excited because I really enjoyed the first one. John Krasinski's coming back. Now, where it gets tricky is that it's not a movie that felt like, this is just screaming for a sequel. Where the first one ends, there's room for more things to happen. Like the final shot, like makes you go, I wonder what she's about to go do. But not in a like, what's she going to do for 2 hours? And maybe that's what the movie is. Maybe that's what the sequel is. Like, yeah, like it's designed to be it picks up exactly when that movie ends. And I think that would maybe be the best way to do a sequel. The other question I would have is that the writers weren't brought back. John Krasinski wrote the script for the sequel. And I could be getting some of that wrong, but I read an article about them and they were brought in to pitch to Lucasfilm what they would do for Indiana Jones and Star Wars. And the premise of the article was like, we don't want to do Star Wars and Indiana Jones. We want you guys to do new franchises, do new stories. And so they weren't, I don't know if they turned down doing a Quiet Place sequel or what it was, but not having the writers that's one of the big pieces that made it work, is that they had a great concept and a nice little script to go along with it. So, but in general, I'm excited just because I don't have any reason not to be excited about it. Luke Brown, Rambo or Terminator? Terminator. Rip Rock Block. Is Men in Black 2 your least favorite movie? No, Alien 3 is. I think Men in Black 2 is a very disappointing movie, not a very good movie, but it's not even interesting enough to be my least favorite movie. Alien 3 is the one that broke my heart and is my least favorite movie. I haven't seen The Dark Crystal, the original one, or the new one, so I don't have any thoughts on it. Someone's asking me about my favorite Irish actor. I need a list of Irish actors in front of me. I don't think actors, where are they from? Like, I don't immediately have that list to be able to have a favorite Irish actor. I just wouldn't, even as a starting point, know where to go with that. Gamer Girl, what Disney D23 news got you most excited? I don't remember. Which one was Comic-Con and which one was D23. What did we get out of that? I think The Mandalorian was probably the thing that I got most excited. I was like, that's a cool trailer. I was excited beforehand, and he just solidified it with this trailer. So that's probably what I would go with. CH Studio with Super Chat. Thank you so much. Hey, big fan. Can you please rate Far From Home? I'm not really sure what you're at. Like, you wanted me to review the movie. I mean, I have a review on my channel. I actually have 2 reviews on my channel. I have both my non-spoiler review and my spoiler review with my full thoughts on it. I've seen it. I saw it 2 times before I did my spoiler review, and I've seen it a 3rd time a week or so back. It's, I think it's very funny. It has some very cool action sequences inside of it. I think it has some big story issues. I think that they were trying to make some pieces fit and came up with this plot line about glasses to try and tie things together. And they wanted to tie that into Peter's story arc of trying to find his identity with Tony Stark. And I just doesn't make a lot of sense at its core. What Tony does, what Peter does, how it all ties together. I had some big issues with some of that stuff, even internally, and not just like, why would Tony do that? But also inside of the movie, it affirms like, no, this is not that Tony should not have done that. Then at the end of the movie, Happy's like, the thing I know most about Tony is that he was confident that he made the right choice. You've known him for years and years and years and years and years, and the thing that he knows most is, or most certain about, wasn't Pepper or his daughter or what. It's giving these glasses to a kid. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Another super chat from the same person. Odd question. How tall are you? I'm 6'3". He says I'm 6'3". I'm 6'1". I'm 6'1", about 215 pounds. That's, if you want to know my dimensions, 6'1", and that's not with shoes on. That's a barefoot 6'1". With my cowboy boots, I'm like 6'3", 6'4". And in Texas, you got to wear your cowboy boots from time to time. Back to our main questions. Someone keeps asking this. Luke the Lukerer, have you seen the show Lost? Yeah, I watched through Lost. I started around season 4 in the original run. Season 3, season 4 is around when I started watching it. Another one that was an early one that my wife and I, when we were engaged actually, is when we started watching it. So we actually watched seasons 1 and 2 and I think 3 via a mix of original Netflix, which was mailing discs in and going to Blockbuster and renting the discs. Then, a disc would have 3 or 4 episodes on it. We watched it like that. And then, I remember even up to the big finale party, I went, to my boss's house and some other family friends were there, and we watched the finale. And it's one of those ones, when I watched the finale, I was like, oh, that was really nice. I enjoyed that. And then reflecting, I was like, that is not a good conclusion to this series. I think season 1 is one of the best first seasons of a show of all time. It just really did some really cool things. Season 2 is a great follow-up to it. Around season 3, it started to get a little bit shakier. It's one of those shows that to me felt like each season got a little bit worse. And then it came to a conclusion that was like, you guys really did drop the ball on this. Like, you established mysteries, you strung us along, and this doesn't work. In fact, like what the show does, basically it teases all these other mysteries throughout seasons 1 through 5, and then you go into the last season and it starts a new mystery. The finale resolves the new mystery, but it's all the other stuff you're like, what about all the stuff the show is actually about? Brendan Torres, have you seen Event Horizon? I have, not recently enough. Not recently enough. Jeremy Bertani, have you seen I Am Number 4, or do you like it? Actually, fun fact, I Am Number 4 is the first movie I ever bought on Blu-ray. It's about as random as a first Blu-ray as you can have, but for whatever reason, whenever we bought our Blu-ray player, I guess it was on sale, so we bought I Am Number 4. So I Am Number 4 is the first Blu-ray I ever bought. I haven't watched it in several years. I remember enjoying it enough. Like, it's just right in there, kind of like, okay, this is forgettable, but fine. Daniel Schwartz, do you think horror movies lack because they tend to do poorly with critics? I think that's an overgeneralization. I think it's a genre, it's a genre that lends itself to being produced cheaply. And so then they can kind of get cranked out and still be profitable, even if they're not very good, because you can get people to show up opening weekend. So I think that's a little bit of it. They're one of the few genres that you can still crank them out. And Blumhouse is the master of that. I think they generally do pretty good ones with a good concept, executed pretty well, but low budget, so they still make money. But I think they go, Slender Man. Like, we'll take the Slender Man mythology, we'll make it for like $5 million, we'll get $10 million opening weekend, we'll make another $10 million over the next month, we'll make $20 million, $5 million budget, boom, we made a profit. I think that's the problem. But there's no shortage of premium. Everywhere they're talking about, is it Ari Aster, the Midsummer Hereditary guy? Like, there's guys out there that are making highbrow horror that are getting great reviews. A24 has a bunch of stuff that's highbrow horror. And then there's stuff that I like You're Next. And there's no shortage of things that are good, but I think it's because you can make them cheap is why you get a little bit more kind of crap. Alfonso Collado, will you remake your ranking of Middle-earth movies? The old one is too short. That's interesting. One of my rankings is like, if I make them short, then someone's like, hey, can you make a longer version? If I make it long, someone's like, hey, this is too long. Can you make a shorter version? So, maybe when the new series comes out, they're going to do a TV show on Amazon Prime. When that comes out, I'll probably re-rank them. I don't think I'd want to do it before that. That video, I don't make money on that video, actually. It was because it has footage in it. That's actually the reason I might remake it before that, is I don't make money on it because it got a copyright claim on it, because I guess I used too much movie clips in it. And so all the money for that video goes to the studio. So I've thought about just pulling it for that reason and redoing it. I struggle with some of that stuff, how often to remake certain ones, which ones am I redoing too often. And I don't want to take advantage, but I'm trying to do what's best for the channel and trying to do what's demands. I think through a lot of that stuff. All right, so trying to read everything, get some good questions. Ramsey Ali with the super chat. Thank you so much. Thoughts on Breaking Bad? Love your videos, by the way. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And there are a couple questions. Okay. So trying to read and talk, do too many things at once. The question you just asked. My thoughts on Breaking Bad. I'll tell you this right now. I started rewatching Breaking Bad 2 weeks ago. About halfway through season 3. I will have a ranking before the new movie comes out. So whenever the movie comes out, my ranking will drop a couple days before that, and then I'll watch the movie and review the movie. I think Breaking Bad is one of the best handled shows of all time, one of the best written shows of all time, one of the best acted shows of all time. It's one of the best shows of all time. And one of the reasons for that is that they ended it when their story was done. They went, we've got 60 episodes of story. Even though their ratings were only going up every single season. It's one of those shows that they put it on Netflix, and it was, moderate success. Critics loved it. A couple more people watched season 2. A couple more. I think it was season 4. They put it on Netflix, and people could rewatch it. People could binge watch it. And the show exploded for season 4 and then season 5, parts 1 and 2. And it's people discovered it, and its legacy grew. When they ended the show, it was on top of the world of just this is what you want your show to do. It was that, winning awards left and right. And they went, but this is all the story we have. And they respected that, and they ended it. I love that about Breaking Bad. And so because of that, it's a tightly woven show. It's not stretched out too long. It's the rise, the right amounts of bumps along the way. The show only takes place over the span of 2 years, I believe. And so I'm rewatching it. Full thoughts coming soon. I'm watching through, writing notes and everything as I go along. And so that's coming out less than a month from now. Did I miss anything? Okay, no. Zachary Zavala with the super chat. Thank you so much. What do you hope for in Robert Pattinson's Batman? What I hope for is that they go back to the mystery, or the great detective, not the mystery, but a Batman that's a detective is what I want to go back to. And I think they've alluded to that even just today. Kevin Smith said that this one's based off The Long Halloween, one of the great graphic novel, one of my personal favorite graphic novels. Long Halloween, Batman Year One, Dark Knight Returns, and what's the other one in that little run? Dark Victory were kind of some of my favorite of the... Dark Knight Returns isn't in that run, but it's Frank Miller who did Batman Year One, and those other ones kind of tie together a little bit. But I love that series of graphic novels. And so this one's supposed to be maybe based off the Long Halloween. I love that. I hope it get kind of that he's a smart guy. There's a mystery to it. That's what I want them to do with it. I liked the brutal action of the Ben Affleck and Batman v Superman. I hope we get more of kind of that, just brutal. He's like a brawler. I hope he's in the shadows like a ninja as well. What I loved about Matt Reeves as a pick to do this is what he did with his two Planet of the Apes movies, is, of course, what everyone would say, but that they had actual dramatic tension inside of them, which is to say competing value sets, not just mustache twirling villain. No, there was actually competing value sets that each side you would say, yeah, that's right, but there's limited resources and we're competing. That's interesting to me. So I hope he brings that to it with a mystery. Ben Affleck was out in January of 2017 is when he was out, and Matt Reeves was hired shortly afterwards. It's kind of the way that played out. So he's been hired for 2 years now working on the script, because Planet of the Apes 2 years ago was War of the Planet of the Apes. So they're spending a lot of time on this script. That's a good sign. I think that's a really good sign. So I'm hoping for the best. Bryce Bailey with Super Chats. Thank you so much. What famous movie theory you've read do you believe? Famous movie theory do I believe? I guess are you talking about the Pixar movie theory and things like that? The one that I enjoy is the Quentin Tarantino one, that all of his movies take place in the same alternate timeline. that has certain changes inside of the Civil War, the end of World War II being a little bit different, his fantasy version of Hollywood. I enjoyed that one because it is kind of this. Some of his stories very, they're just these stories, and certain ones tie to reality and just change very big things. So it's fun because it is an alternate reality if the Quentin Tarantino Theory 1 is true. Travis Sherrill, have you seen Lonesome Dove with a super chat? Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I haven't. I have not seen Lonesome Stuff, so unfortunately I can't give you a fun insight. I can't give you. I'm very sorry about that. I wish I could, because it was a super chat that saying no is not a satisfying answer. But unfortunately, I have not seen Lonesome Dove or have any experience with it. Some people ask me again about the Do Suicide Squad casting. I've talked about that actually in here twice already, so you can on the rebroadcast watch from the beginning. Aaron Tuna, do you think It 2 is scary? No. I don't get scared by movies, so I'm not the best judge, but It Chapter 2 in particular was not particularly scary, especially coming from watching the first one. Has just a lot more intense scenes of children in peril, children dying, a bully grabbing a knife and carving into a child's stomach. That's really scary, intense stuff. You don't have that. You don't feel that nearly as much in the new one. There's some stuff in there, but even the way some of them play out, it's just not quite as potent as the first ones. I didn't think it was very scary. Someone's asking me about Mike Myers, the Cat in the Hat. I've actually never seen Mike Myers, Cat in the Hat, so I have no thoughts on it. Purple FX, have you watched Euphoria? No, I haven't. Anything that's kind of like high schoolers on drugs and depressed, that's having sex, like, probably not a thing I'm rushing out to go see. Most TV I watch, I do videos about. So if I haven't done a video about it, I might not have seen it. Jeff Kit, can you review FIFA? I don't know if you're asking about, is that the game or the actual game? Either one is going to be no. I'm not watching soccer and I haven't played the games. I wouldn't have anything to review. So wherever you might be going, even the question I'm asking is probably because I don't even know what you're talking about enough to have a better answer than what I'm saying. Jason McTurdy, Sean, my favorite celebrity. Hey, thanks. I didn't know I was a celebrity. I guess I have a little bit of online celebrity status. So it's kind of weird because in normal life, I'm just a normal guy. No one knows who I am. So you don't feel like a celebrity. And then I go on the internet and a lot of people know him. It's a weird life. The Math Master with a super chat. I respectfully disagree with your The Last Jedi take. I love The Last Jedi and I want to share my thoughts. May I please email you my Last Jedi review? I do not use Twitter. I mean, you can. My email is sean@seanchandlerlive.com. So whether you could email me, my email is not a secret or anything. It's sean@seanchandlerlive.com. Maybe I'll have to make it a secret if I make it too public, but there's not a lot of people looking to email me. If you want to contact me, Twitter, Instagram, direct messages, Facebook is probably the easiest way to do it. If you're not on those deals, I just gave you my email address. If you spam me, then you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble because you're ruining my email for everyone else. Warzone25, It 2, disappointing ending. Yeah, the specifically the final resolution. I think the climax is a little bit stretched out. The specific way that they resolved it, I thought was like, really? That's what you did with this? That was ill-advised. I wouldn't have done that. Some people asking some questions. I've done videos about it, like 10 favorite movies of all time, and am I excited? Which Star Wars shows am I excited about? I've done videos on all that stuff, so I don't want to repeat that and rather talk about some new things. Am I excited about Crisis on Infinite Earths, the crossover event for Arrowverse this season? Not really. I don't know. I'm excited because they're getting like Kevin Conroy, the voice from Batman the Animated Series, voice from Batman Arkham games, to live action be Batman. That's very cool that they're doing that. And Brandon Routh's going to be Superman again. That stuff's very cool to me. But I was just so burned by the way that they ended this last season of Arrow and the way it tied into the crossover event that I just thought it was just so disrespectful to the show itself. I don't know, like, I can't imagine that that's what the writers for Arrow were like, yeah, let's resolve all these big storylines like this. I just can't imagine that that's what they wanted to do. So I'm a little bit burned on it before even seeing it because of some of that stuff. Honors film reviews. What's your thoughts on Every Which Way But Loose? I think that's the Ape movie with Clint Eastwood. I haven't seen it recently enough to have an opinion. I might even be thinking of the wrong thing. I just haven't seen it recent enough to be able to talk about it. Have I ever seen Basketball Diaries? No, I have not. Did I ever see 911? I don't know what you're asking me at the moment. I don't know if that's a. I've seen Rescue 911 a lot with the TV show, but I don't know what you're referring to. Chicken Nugget. What show was the most disappointing ending to you? Dexter was pretty brutal, disappointing ending, and it didn't help that a week later is Breaking Bad, which maybe that set the stage for Breaking Bad to have a great finale. But Dexter was just like, what have you done? Like, everything about this ending is terrible. Like, even the thing, like, oh, maybe that's okay. No, this, you just, I don't understand how you made such a bad finale to your show. Liar Massa, what do you think about the future Star Wars trilogies? It's tough to have a thought on future Star Wars trilogies without knowing what they're doing. If they do Knights of the Old Republic as a trilogy, that's pretty cool. That's a good idea. I like the idea of them going 500 years in the past or 100 years, 200,000 years, whatever it would be. Go to a different time period that's not the Republic, fall, the rise of the Empire, that stuff. Go tell me Jedi stories a long time ago. Or do a trilogy on the outskirts that's not about the Empire, but maybe in that time frame, but it's not touching on the same stuff we've talked about, but like a trilogy of just set in this universe. There's a bunch of fun things about this universe that don't have to be related to Skywalkers and Empire and Republics. But without knowing where they're going, it's tough to have a particularly strong thought on. Omar, thoughts on The Untouchables? I really enjoy it. You're talking about the Brian De Palma film, I think. And I could be blank because I've been talking for an hour and a half straight. If you're talking about the Brian De Palma film with Kevin Costner about Prohibition, Al Capone, I really enjoy that movie. That's when I think about gangster movies, that's the one that I actually rewatch more than things like The Godfather and Goodfellas. Like that's the one that I enjoy more. That's a little bit more my sentiments. All right, I'm going to close out on a few of these ones, a few final questions and close out. Zachary Zavala, if you want to contact me, I've mentioned this before, Instagram, Twitter. I still read almost everything. Direct message on Facebook, direct message on Instagram. I respond. I read most of that stuff. So you have a question that I can answer quickly. I really do respond to a lot of stuff. Zachary Zavala with a super chat. Thank you so much. Villain you love to see Robert Pattinson's Batman. Deathstroke, I think, is a missing piece in the Batman universe. That we haven't seen like a good Deathstroke type person. And that, I'm a little bit primed for that because that's what Ben Affleck was doing. He teased that with some images. Even Justice League has the tease at the end of it. So Deathstroke's the one that's like, all right, this is a cool villain that I think works well against Batman, that you could do neat stuff with that we haven't seen him before. So that's the one that immediately comes to mind. I think if they early on establishing a Catwoman that's not like the main villain, but has a little bit more of a long running plot line to it, not just a one-off, but she's just a character that's always kind of there showing up a little bit. I think that would be fun to do inside of a trilogy. A nice dynamic of the anti-hero / villain / I think that would be kind of nice, but that's what I would say off the top of my head. The Math Master with Super Chat. I sent you a message on Facebook. Cool. I don't know if you said that to which message. I'll check all my accounts whenever I get off. CH Studio with Super Chat. Thank you so much. Opinion on KSI Logan Paul rematch. I guess I didn't even know they're doing a rematch. More power to them if two kind of obnoxious YouTubers want to have a boxing match. My obnoxious activity that I'm working towards, that I have no way to work towards, but is a arm wrestling match with the Flickinger. I wouldn't charge you for it or anything like that, but hey, if he'd be willing to arm wrestle me and watch Over the Top, message me on Twitter. But what do I think about it? I just don't, like, I don't follow Logan Paul. I don't follow Jake Paul. I don't really know who KSI is besides the fact that he's boxed Logan Paul before. That's just, that side of kind of obnoxious YouTube of whatever you would call that. That's just not my thing. I'm a little bit too old for it, so I don't have strong opinions. People commenting on my beard. Thanks. I'd like to have a little bit of stubble on my face. Have I ever watched the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I have. I was never like a rabid Fresh Prince fan, but I've always enjoyed it. Someone asking if I'm doing this video in my underwear. I'm not. I do have shorts on. Just getting very leggy. I realized that as I was sitting here, I was like, I guess I am kind of like putting my knees up here because I've been sitting here. So I was like, I should try and get comfortable. So I'm leaning on the desk, but I do in fact have shorts on, full shorts and everything. I don't think I have done many videos in my underwear. I'm sure I've done some videos in my underwear, but I haven't. I get too nervous. There's enough times that I've accidentally left footage in or just done something. There's an infamous time where John Campea was doing a live stream and he was wearing like not clothes that you would want them to know that you're wearing during the video, and he stood up and there was a mirror behind him. So whatever he did, he wasn't on camera here, but because of what he did, the mirror revealed what he was wearing. It was kind of funny. It wasn't super inappropriate or anything, but it was pretty funny. Brendan Torres, Evil Dead movies ranked along with Ash vs. Evil Dead series. It won't. I might rank them next month, but it won't have the TV show. I wouldn't rank the movies with the TV show because they're different things. I don't like to rank TV shows with movies because they're just different. They're too different. Like the It miniseries can be ranked with the movies because it's essentially a TV movie. It's a 3-hour TV movie. It Chapter 2 is 2 hours and 50 minutes itself, so they're comparable. But taking 10-hour season or a full TV show ranked along with movies, I just don't feel right doing that because it's comparing such different things. Someone's asking again, how old am I? I'm 37. I turned 38 in a couple months. I turned 38 November 28th. So getting really close to 40. Christian Cordona, Ray and Nora leaving Legends of Thoughts. I don't watch Legends, so I don't have thoughts on it. If I'd watched all the seasons, I would have done a ranking. But I haven't. Like I've seen the first season and a half, I think. So I don't have thoughts on it just because I haven't watched enough of it to care. Julian Silva, what's the worst movie you've ever seen? It's tough to say. I mean, The Room is an obvious pick because it's just such a colossally bad movie, but it's still enjoyable. There's a bazillion just so bad they're boring movies, but I don't know how to rank some of that stuff. Of like, what's the worst? I don't know. Nicholas Trevino, what are your hopes for Ghostbusters 2020? Just that they can find a way to not rehash the old ones, but find a way to just have a good adventure. It doesn't have to be better than the original one. You just have to have an adventure it's a worthy successor. What I think this most recent one did wrong is they just kind of veered off on too much of Paul Feig's shtick. So a lot of girls dancing, and there's like 5 dance numbers where just people start doing stuff like this, and too much of just generic Paul Feig, Chris Hemsworth dumb, and look, my lens is on my glasses and stuff like that. That it wasn't Ghostbusters humor. It didn't feel like it flowed from the characters. It was, let's do Ghostbusters, and then here's Paul Feig's sense of humor. So something that feels like the original one, but in the 21st century, so a little bit of updates to it, but it captures the vibe a little bit better and respectfully continues it. I don't know if that was particularly insightful, but maybe a little bit. Majestic Demon with a super chat. How do you think DC could save or improve their universe? I guess I'll probably close out on this one. How do you think you could save the DCEU? I don't think you can. I think that they do need to wind it down or say we're not gonna try and continue this as our version of the MCU. We're not gonna try and do big team up movies. We're going to kind of close out our little runs with Aquaman and Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad. They're technically in the same universe. And then 2025, maybe let's start over and try and do it right. They started on a bad They did build on a bad foundation. They picked Man of Steel that was not designed to be the foundation for a shared universe. Built into it, David Goyer talking about his concept was like, what if this did happen? What if Superman did suddenly appear in a world that had never seen this before? How would the world respond? What sort of things would happen? That's what was interesting to them, was that there aren't superheroes in this world, and now there's a superhero and they just suddenly show up. That's the whole concept of Man of Steel. And then that's the concept of Batman v Superman. And then suddenly you're like, yeah, but there's also been Amazonians around and they helped in World War I. Well, that undermines a bunch of stuff we just said. Like that's not what the concept of the universe was. So they just really, they picked the wrong thing to build a shared universe off of. They didn't have the right person to guide it. They didn't have anyone really to guide it. And because of that, they just didn't have they didn't start in the right place. And that's why I don't think it's worked very well. It has a lot of problems. There's a lot of backtracking. There's a lot of like rushing movies out. And then these random ones that kind of work. Oh yeah, and we have Shazam in there too, kind of. Like stuff like that where it's just, I think just let it play out and then do it right. Like spend the next 5 years trying to find or groom your Kevin Feige. I mean, Kevin Feige produced a bunch of comic book movies and movies. He knew comic books, he knew movies before he took over the MCU. So get some producer person that you think, that person right there, they have a good forward-thinking vision. They're a big picture storyteller. And so let's put them as a heavily involved producer for every single DC movie that we do. Not that these movies are going to be a shared universe, but we're grooming this 30-year-old guy that's really got a knack for things. And in about 6 years, 7 years, we're going to start this thing over. He's our Kevin Feige. He's not Kevin Feige. He's not going to do the MCU. He's going to do it his way. But we're thinking, what made it work? What made it work before? Kevin Feige, long-term plan. They stuck to it. Let's do that. That's what I think they need to do. All right, I'll grab a couple quick questions, but I'm closing this bad man pajama out. Someone just says Moon Knight. I don't know enough about Moon Knight to have any opinions on it, so can't expand on that. Thoughts on Batman Beyond? So I've seen a lot of it. I own the seasons to it. Seen almost all the episodes. I think it's a neat little concept for a show. I love seeing Bruce Wayne. I always love when we get to see a character that we know from one phase of life kind of later on. And when you can kind of do that with a character. I don't think you can... I don't want to see that with Indiana Jones because I don't want to see Indiana Jones as just an old man. That's not Indiana Jones. But with Batman, you can make him Bruce Wayne the old man, and he has his young Batman Beyond, his new Batman. There's a way to do that with the character. So it's a neat little concept, and there's a lot of things inside of it. And because it was the creative team of Batman, the animated series, and a continuation of that show, just a lot of neat things that they were able to do with it. People ask me, have I watched The Good Boys? I haven't watched Good Boys. It's just wasn't one that particularly interested me. It's not a genre that I tend to enjoy. And it's not something I would have wanted to cover on my channel for a number of different reasons. Someone's asking if I've seen Gotham. Read the description down below. Rank the Home Alone movies. I might do that. Home Alone movies are a weird one because there's like 5 of them. And there's like 2 of them. Maybe, yeah, 5 of them. 2 of them are direct to video, so no one's seen them. No one cares about them. They really just care about the first 2. So maybe I'll do that, or maybe I'll just review the first 2. Am I excited about the Little Mermaid remake? I don't really get too excited about most of these live action remakes. It just feels like a cynical risk reduction strategy, so I can't get too excited about things like that. Have you seen the Night at the Museum movies? I have. They're not movies I get super excited about. They're not movies I dislike. They're like, oh, that's fine family entertainment. If my kids want to watch these, of the things my kids would want to watch, these are some of the more pleasant ones. National Baller Association. What gym do you go to? Just the Anytime Fitness, so I can go anytime I want. Michael Kesson, when Sean ends the video, it's true. It will be very soon. That I'll be doing them. Derpy Boy Films, live action Spider-Verse casting. With my castings, I can't do those off the top of my head. I could never do one of those in a live stream unless I'd already done a video for it. If I'd already done that, I've got a video for it. I would just send you the video. Like when I do a casting, like I sit down and I brainstorm who's not in anything yet. I think who's a natural fit. I watch a bunch of other people's lists. I read a bunch of lists and I just make these tons of lists, and I just start sorting through it of like what's the most interesting, what's not, just picking A-listers, who's bringing new people into the fold, things like that. So I can't do those off the top of my head. Andy reviews. Have you seen the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad? I have, not recently, not something that I could comment on it. It's something that, like watch one of those classic movies back in like 1998, something like that. But it's not something that I could chime in on too much. People are saying the Joker's canceled. That seems unlikely. Shark number 24. How to donate? I don't know what that means. If you want to donate money via super chat, I don't think I've super chatted some people, but I haven't recently, so I don't remember how that works. Or if you want to go to patreon.com/Sean Chandler, you can support the channel over there if you also would like to donate. But I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Yeah, there are a bunch of people saying whoever keeps mentioning Joker's canceled. Positive it's not. Without having read whatever you're saying, does not sound particularly real to me. So I've actually done a video on the Joker. So people asking Nicholas or Heath Ledger. I've done a video ranking the Jokers, and I'll do another one. So I don't want to dive into that here. People asking about the Suicide Squad casting again. I've talked about that twice in here already. Sounds like we're just, a lot of the same questions are getting asked. Even questions I just answered are still kind of getting asked. So a lot of stuff in here that's, yeah. Sorry. Looks like we'll just close it out. Sorry. A lot of the questions, some of you guys are asking questions that I've answered. I've made videos about, like my favorite movie of all time. In this, I've made a video about that. So, sorry, I got to close things out since looks like we've run out of questions that I can answer. Bye-bye.